Hello, this is my first 100 tutorials that I would like to talk about. First of all, I'm Bismarck, one of the young developers in Ghana. I have a degree in computer science and currently having my master's in IT. I am an enthusiast of technology and specifically Android application development. I am also a senior Android developer in one of the biggest international companies around the globe. I like to help emerging Android developers to have a good hands on Android development. I have written a number of Android publications and you can check out my blogs on Medium platform. Today, I would like to talk about link tools, of which I already have a blog on. To start with, first of all, let's try to know the content of these topics. First of all, we like to know what length is all about in Android. We also talk about errors that it can also help you to check out for. Now, after that, we will also look at how to configure length in Android Studio. We also look at manual linting configuration, which is part of which is linked to how to configure length in Android Studio. Then we also talk about using baseline in Android linting. Guys, let's carry on. What is linting in Android? Now, if you are a young developer or a beginner, there's a probability or a higher chance that you have not really come across linting. So this is a biggest opportunity that you might need to know about the basis of linting in Android. Linting is a code scanning tool provided by Android Studio to help us to identify, suggest, and correct the wrongs or the risky code present in the project. Linting helps to scan the project source files in checking for potential bugs. It also helps to know the performance of correctness checking, security, and accessibility. Now, as we talk about, let's have a look at the errors that it can help us to point out to. We can talk about unused variables, and these are the variables that you have declared in your project source file or source code, yet you haven't used them, and these are termed unused variables. It can also help you to track unhandled exceptions. As a developer, there's a higher chance of coming across exceptions in your coding pattern or in your process of coding. You might need to harness on catching exceptions, and these are things that we cannot avoid. So whenever you start coding or you start writing your methods, you might need to handle exceptions, and the linting tool can help you do that. We can also talk about missing translations and unused translations. We can also talk about layout performance problems. For example, when you are trying to use something like a constraint layout has its own way. Anyway, constraint layout is one of the V groups which is actually current in Android, and it is very good and useful. You can check out if you don't know the usage of constraint layout. Now, back to our topic. When we are using constraint layout, there are some of the rules that you have to use in your nested in your children, I mean the children of constraint layout, so that it doesn't really have you kind of achieve what you want to use the constraint layout for. So when you start using constraint layout and you are not using some of the, I mean, you are not using some of the right rules that constraint layout will want you to use, Android Studio will complain. And this complaining is all about linting. The linting is the help of lint that's making you see what you are doing wrongly. I think let me try to show you in code so that you know what I am talking about. You know what I'm talking about. So let's see. Now let's switch to Android Studio. After switching to Android Studio now, let's try to create a file. Let's try to create a class or an activity. So let's try to create an activity and let me show you what I am talking about. So basically, this is just for example's sake. So let's try to use a basic activity. Now we can name it lint activity. Then the name of the activity will be activity underscore lint. Then what else we can, yes, so we need to select Java because it's the Java language that we are using. Now we press on finish. Now Android Studio is trying to create your activity that we are just trying to create for you. Let's wait, it's still building. Still building, guys. Now after it is built, we will try to make use of constraint layouts, and I will use that to explain what I was talking about. Voila, it is trying to build. To take, so building, it takes some time, and voila, it is done. So let's try to check what I was talking about. Now in your activity length, let's go to the where we try, yes, so we can actually make use of this XML, that's the content length. Now this has been created for you. Let's say we are trying to use constraint layouts and you want to create a test view. When we are creating a test view, we can create a test view, then we provide a width, we provide a height. So we want the height to be wrap content. Then we try to provide maybe the ID of the test view. Any ID is cool. So we can write maybe test, or for example title as our ID. Now you close the tag. Now you see right now the test view is highlighted in red color. Why? This is by the help of lint. The lint is trying to communicate to you that you are not using the test view properly. Now we see the description that's giving you. This view is not constrained. It only has design time position, so it will jump to zero position at runtime unless you add the constraint. Now it is lint, it is with the help of lint that is giving you this information for you to know what you are doing wrongly. So what it just says is saying is when you try to run this application right now, you see the test view is jumping to a position that you wouldn't want it to jump to. So for you to get the right thing, you have to constrain, and these are basically the rules of constraint layouts. So you have to constrain the test view so that you can actually have it at a position that you want in runtime. So let's try to constrain this test view uh, in the middle of the page or in the middle of the layout. So first of all, we try to pin the starting position of the text view to the parent. Now we try to pin the end of the text view to the parent too, and then we try to also pin the top of the text view to the top of the parent. Then after, the last thing is we try to pin the bottom of the text view to the bottom of the parent. Now you see the text view is positioned in the middle of the layout. And without these rules, without you providing these rules, and the Android linting tool will complain, because if you run it right now, though it's complaining, but then if you try to run it, the application will run, yet you will not have your text view at the exact position that you might want it to be. So Android, now after adding this rule, you see the text view which was in red color is no more. Why? Because you have been able to provide the rules that it was checking for. And as we said, this was all by the help of linting scanning or linting tool in Android Studio, guys. So after showing this, I think it is clear now, so we can go on to see more examples. Let's locate the PowerPoint now. As we said, we have demonstrated for missing. Yeah, I think we just talk about layout performance problems. We can also talk about unused resources. And what do we mean by unused resources? Sometimes we might try to, for example, we might try to import in XML. We might try to import tools namespace. The tool namespace is just like a package that contains a lot of helpful or utilities that you can make use of. But then though the tool namespace has been imported, but then the items or the utilities that we can make use of, we are not making use of them. It means they are useless. They are not useful at the moment. And these are resources that can consume memory. So what we have to do is the linting tool can point to you that these tools are unused. So in that regard, you might need to remove it from your source code or from your XML. So let's try to demonstrate this through Android Studio. Then we can know what we are talking about. In Android Studio, we can try to import the tools namespace that we talk about. So let's try to import the tool namespace. We just write the tool and it will give it a shortcut. Now the tools namespace has been imported, and with the tools, what we can help we can try to, when we are trying to, we want to, let's say with the text view that we have declared, we want to show, the title or the name of the text view. What I mean is, programmatically or in runtime, if you want to set a description or the name of the text view, what it will just display on your screen, you go by using text in the Android namespace. So you can do something like this is just example. Now this just example is being shown in your text view, but then for design purpose, if you want to know how it will look, when you have run the application, instead of using 100, you can just use 2. You can just use 2. You can just use 2. Yes, you can just use 2, and you see it is still giving you it was still giving you the description of the text view. This one, it's still giving you, but then if you try to run the application right now on your phone, you wouldn't see the text. This is just for design purpose. So this is what I'm talking about. So if you try to import the tools namespace and you decide not to use any of the attributes or any of the utilities in this namespace, then it means we have an unused resources. Now you see, let's try to see the difference. When we're trying to use the test method, or let's say the utility in the tools namespace, now the tools is of normal color. When you try to remove this line, you see it is gray, it is in gray color. It is trying to now try to point your cursor on the line, then you try to see that the namespace declaration is never used. This is all by the use of lint. lint Lint is trying to tell you that you have imported a useful namespace, yet you haven't used any of the utilities that it offers. Now it is trying to tell you can just, if you want to know the options that Lint will suggest for you, you can do so by putting the cursor in on the line that it is complaining. Then you try to enter Alt Enter on Windows, and if you're on Mac too, you try to enter Alt or Option Enter, and these are the suggestions. It is trying to say remove unused namespace declaration, and if you try to enter, then it is removed for you. And this is all by the help of linting. This is all by the help of linting. I think it is clearer now, so we can move on. So let's go to the PowerPoint and try to know what we can also, what issues Lint can also help you to check for in the PowerPoint. Now it can also help you to find these errors: accessibility and internationalization problems, when strings are hard coded or missing content description. Lint can point it to you when these errors happens in your project or project source code. We can also talk about icon problems like missing densities, duplicate icons, when we have the same icons, but then we have two similar or two or more similar icons in your project source file. Lint can help you to locate this by trying to give you a warning. We can also talk about manifest errors. When in your manifest, in the same, for example, manifest is just a piece of XML file. In that case, when you have errors like that, Lint can also try to suggest to you some of the errors that you are having in your project source file. So basically, the Lint will help you to see the errors that you are having in your projects before you even try to build it or run it. So it saves you time. It saves you time. So let's go on. Now let's try to know how to configure Lint in Android Studio. First of all, we can talk about manual Lint configuration. Now when we try to install, we have a lot of IDE, that helps you to build your Android application. But then Android Studio is mostly used. Android Studio is that's the IDE you mostly use right now. So I'm talking in reference to Android Studio. Android Studio comes with pre-installed Lint issues created for you. Yet not all the issues are enabled, because the issues are many. If these issues are being enabled at first or initially for you, then it will make your building of your project very slow, because the issues are many. So if you have to build your project against all these issues, scanning your project source code with all these issues, then what will happen is it will take a long time for your project to finish building. In that sense, or in that light, it comes with some few issues enabled for you. But then if you think these issues do not meet your requirement or do not meet your interest, then you might want to either add or remove some of the issues. And this is how we go by it. Let me use Android Studio, then we can all follow up to see how to enable issues. or disable linting issues in your Android Studio. Let's try to go to our Android Studio for this. In Android Studio, now we have, as we said, we have some of the issues that has been already enabled for you. If you want to see some of the issues that you can also add on to, first of all, on your right top left corner, you can locate a file tab, then you click on, you select the settings menu. In the settings menu, you locate editor, then you locate inspections. Now it's loading. Guys, these are the issues that comes with Android Studio. For example, we can have linting issues related to Android. We can have linting issue related to C++ or C. We can have linting issues related to core data, local learning, editor, a lot of them. You can find them here. But then what I am interested in is Android. So you need to toggle down the Android block. Then we have JNI, Linting itself is here. Room is actually a database. So you can also add or remove its lint issues. Guys, so we can select a couple of them in here. Now you see all those checked correct are the ones that have been added. Android Studio has already added them for you. So now if you want to remove some of them, you can uncheck the box. You can uncheck the box against the issue. Then you click on apply. Then you click on OK. That's all. We are done. Now we have configured these lint issues, but then how do we know that we have actually configured the issues? So if you want to know, what we have to do is we have to go to Analyze tab, which is some distance away from the File tab. So this is the Analyze tab, just in between Code tab and Refactor tab is Analyze tab. So we click on Analyze tab, then you see a drop of menu items. You select the first item, which is Inspect Code. Now we see a small dialog is appearing. Now we have inspection code scope, inspection scope. So you need to select the scope that you might want Android linting to scan for you. So first of all, we have whole project. If you select a whole project, it means while you are scanning your project source code, it's going to scan the whole files in your project. You can also select a module. So with the module, it's basically the modules that we have in place right now. But right now, I only have app module. So you can select that, or you can also select just a single file. Now, it is just giving us the content lint XML because that is what is open. That is the file which is open right now or currently. So if you want to scan only just this file, which will be very quick because it's just one file, then we click on OK. And what you see is you check the button of the Android Studio and it was running. Right now the code, this file has been scanned. And let's see, I think if you go to the build tab at the bottom, you see that it's scanned, and now it was able to finish scanning this XML file, and voila, you can see it is built successfully. I think it couldn't find any issues in this file. So guys, you can also do, or you can also try on your end, then you see if you might try to catch, or you'll be able to catch any error with the help of the lint. So this is basically that, and that is configuring lint in Android Studio. Now let's try to talk about how to configure lint with the help of XML. How to configure lint with the help of XML. How do you configure lint with the help of XML? For example, when we have already seen that Android Studio comes with a lot of pre-installed lint issues, but then you might want to tweak some of the issues for your own usages. So what you need to do is, first of all, you can make use of XML file. And what do we do? First of all, if you are using Android Studio right now, you can follow along. First of all, we have to create a file, an XML file, and you place it in your project source file. I mean the root of your project source file, source code. So for us to know the root, I think we can come now. I am using Android mode, so we can click on Android and you select a proper mode. So let's select project mode. The project mode will just give you everything. So now this is, let me try to toggle this down so that we can see things clearly. So we can try to create the file in here. Now you select here, select the Android animation folder, you right click, then you go to new, then you locate file, then you create your file here. You create your file. Now let's try to create this file called lint. I will name it lint.xml. Now the file has been created for you. So all that you have to do is you have to create, or you have to configure the lint in XML. First of all, you have to know that in configuring lint XML, it has to take the root. I mean, it should have a root, and the root should be a lint. So this is the syntax. This is the syntax. First of all, let's try to have the syntax of XML in it. Then I think the encoding is always UTF-8. That's the encoding we normally use for XML files in Android. Now you try to create the link tag, you create the link tag, and this link tag contains the issue. So let's say it is the root tag, and let's say it's the parent tag. Now let's try to configure some of the issues. Most of the issues I normally talk about is unused variables or unused resources. So first of all, let's try to use unused resources. Unused resources. And first of all, the ID. The ID of the issue is nothing but the unique. It's just trying to give you the, I mean, you have a lot of issues. For you to identify the issues, you use the ID, which is very unique, so that you can identify the issue. So that is the purpose of the ID. Then the severity. The severity is what I'm trying to, or we are trying to tweak. Because, for example, now the unused resources issue is very friendly in a sense that if you try to commit this issue, your Android project file will be able to run, because the severity is probably having checked now, but then I'm sure it might be a warning. The severity will be a warning. But then if, let's say you are in a team and you don't want to misuse device memory, in that sense, you try to restrict, or you try to strictly let the team make sure that their project source file is always not using an unused resources. In that sense, we can configure to make the severity fatal or error. In that sense, if the user trying to run it and the Android Studio, the Android Studio will try to scan the project files or source code, and whenever it tries to locate or come across unused resources, the application will not be able to build, or the project source file, the project source code will not be able to build. It will complain that you have an unused resources, and for you to be able to build a project, then it means you might need to remove all the unused resources. And guys, this is very helpful, because if you don't do all this and the project keeps on building, we are developing all the time, and with time you will see that we have a lot of unused resources in our project, and now if it has gotten to some level and we want to remove all of these, it's going to be time consuming because it's going to take a lot of time on our side to be able to remove all these. So it's kind of helpful when Android Studio or the Lint will be able to point out to you that this is what you are committing beforehand, like before you even run your project. And we say we are very grateful to Android Linting tools that we have in Android Studio. So guys, now this is an issue that we have actually configured. Now we can also configure another issue. It can take a lot of issue that you might want to, not just one, it can take a lot. So let's try to configure. Let's say example is missing translation. Missing translation is an issue. Then we can check the severity to, let's say, warning. For example, we want to ignore some of the files. You want to check for missing translation in your Android Studio or your Android project files, but then you might want to exclude one particular file or some of the files from this scanning. All that you have to do is you come into the block of issue, then you try to ignore that particular files from it, and all I have to do is you have to place the part of the file in the path key or attributes. So for example, you have resources, then the file is located in layout, then what's the name of the file? Let's use activity lint XML, and this is it. We close the tag. As we said, we can also not just one file in the issue block. We can also have as many files that we want to exclude. Now I just duplicated it with the help of this. If you are interested to know the command, that the shortcut I use for duplication of this line, I just use Control D, and this is for Windows, and you are on Mac, you can also use Command D for duplication. This is helpful. Okay guys, so for example, I won't go too much, and this for demonstration purpose or demo purpose. You have just configured your link file, and this is what you have just done. So, and it is, as I said, you have to place it in the root of your project. After doing this, it's not done, then you try to locate. Now after you have configured this, you need to let Android Studio aware. You need to create awareness of this configuration that you have done, and you can do this by locating the application Gradle, the Gradle file. This is our Gradle file. Then you come here. Now in the Gradle file, first of all, locate Android in the Android block. If you have it already, you need to then locate lint options. I think I have this already here. So this lint option block is where you do everything regarding linting. Any configuration that you do, anything, if you want to suppress some of the errors, a lot, you have to do them in this lint option block. Now as we have configured our linting, let's try to integrate it in our Android Studio so that it will help us to scan our project files for us. So we use this keyword called lint config, then we specify the file. So the file, as we said, now the file is located in the project of the file, in the root of the project. So we don't need anything, we just have to just take the name of the file, and we created a file called lint XML. So this is just that. Then after that, we try to sync, because we have configured our application Gradle file, we have to sync it. Now let's wait for it to finish building. Then after that, you can test it. I think that's the fun part. So now it is done building. what we have to do is we have to start checking it. How do you check it? First of all, we can run this through the analyze block that we had. That's the first method. I think we have run through this before with you. If you have forgotten, as we said, you locate the analyze tab on the Android Studio, then you select the inspect code menu item, then you select your scope, and that's that. You can also do so on the terminal or the command prompt. So in the terminal, what you have to do is uh, you try to you make use of Gradle wrapper. That's Gradle W. Then since this is in debug mode, what we have to do is we try to use lint debug to be able to run this. Then guys, we are there, you are running now. Android Studio is trying to scan. Before that, it's trying to scan your project. Now you can see it is failing. Let's try to check why the build is failing. Probably there are some errors that is trying to see. Let's try and see why it is failing. Build failed with exception. Okay, so let's try to locate where it's actually failing. Okay, guys, this is not a fresh of the this is not a scratch. I mean, we didn't start this project in a scratch. This is an existing project I use for demonstration. I think duplicate resources. This is an lint issue. Duplicate resources. This is an lint issue. So, and this has been configured. So it means our project is committing this issue or is committing these errors. That's the reason why it is failing. But guys, trust me, if you try to do it on a very fresh project, I'm not sure you meet these ones. It will run because at that time you don't have a lot in your code. So you'll be able to build your project and see that where and see it running perfectly. And see running perfectly. Right now, the source code I'm having right now is committing some of the lint issues. So that's the reason why lint is catching them for me. And as a result, it couldn't, I mean, it scans with an error. It scans with errors. So guys, you can check on your end and you see, trust me, you see, and it's working to be working. First of all, so now we have talked about how to configure lint in XML. We have configured lint in XML. Then again, let's also try to talk about the next topic that we have, which is, I think we have run through this manual lint configuration. We have done all this. We have done this. Now let's try to configure lint in Java. We have had a look at configuring lint in XML. Now let's try to know how to use lint in our Java files. Let's use Android Studio for this demonstration purpose. So let's try to locate Android Studio. Then we can do this. First of all, in Android Studio, let's try to locate a Java file. Then, as I said, this is an existing source code. For demonstration purpose, I do not want this to be theoretical. So I just want to use a project for us to know what we are basically talking about. So let's try to use this Java file. I call it first2 fragment. Guys, don't worry about the name. You can use your own name. Now let's try to use, as I said, how to configure lint in our Java files. For example, we all normally know this assumption when we are trying to run a network request in the main thread. It is not a good practice. It is not a good coding practice. Why? Because a network request always block the main thread. Mostly we know this by tradition that the main thread is responsible for creation of views or views creation. So as the main thread is busy with the views creation, then we are trying to worry it with another network request, which is a different thing and also consumes a lot of, say, memory, or yes, a lot of memory or CPU. So in this sense, we might try to, if we are doing for a good practice or good coding practice, if you are running a network request, we should surely do it in a background thread or a worker thread. Do it in a worker thread so that it's a different thread. So, and whenever the work is performed, then you can bring it back to the main thread for safety, so that your application will run perfectly without having any complaints from your users. So let's try to, with the help of Lint, how can Lint help us notify us that, okay, fine, we are trying to run a network request in the main thread or on the main thread. So how does Lint comes in to help us? So first of all, let's try to write our method that does, that does things in the main thread. So first of all, let's try to use annotation, and we have annotation called main thread. This main thread is nothing but it is annotating your method, that this method is going to run in the main thread. So do something nice. For example, the name of my method is do something nice. Do something nice. Then it does things, of course. It does something, of course. Then let's have another method that does things in the, is supposed to do something in the background. For example, void sync logs from server. This is basically going to communicate with an API. So API, try to document it. API communication. Now, how do we know that this method is going to should be run on the background thread? So in that sense, what you have to do is you have to annotate it with a worker thread. This is just annotation. Now, with the help of this annotation, Android Studio Lint will know that this method is supposed to run in a background. In that sense, if let's try to call this method in the method which is supposed to run on the main thread, Android will complain. Why? Because we are trying to run a method which is supposed to run in the background thread on the main thread. So sync record, now it is complaining. Now the method is highlighted in red. Because let's see the description why it is complaining. Method sync logs from server must be called from the worker thread. Currently, inferred thread is main thread. Guys, so now you see. So this is all by the help of Lint. Lint is trying to, now we didn't even run the project. We didn't run the source code. Instantly after declaring the methods, now Linting is trying to help you without even worrying yourself to build the project before trying to get some issues. Then you know, okay, I think this is the problem that I am committing. Now Linting is trying to help you. Now, for example, let's say we have removed this main thread. Things will be okay. It won't complain anymore because we don't know where Lint doesn't know where we are supposed to run this do method. So this is one of the examples how we can actually check some of the issues in Java files. Now we can also make use of, if you want to suppress, if you want to suppress something in Java files, some of the issues in Java files, we can also make use of an annotation called suppress lint. Suppress lint. So for example, with this same method, we can also try to suppress the lint. For example, we can suppress this lint um, uh, unused I want to be realistic, so let's not use this method. I think we can try to we can use, guys, you can just use any issue, just any issue that will crop up. For example, I'm trying to have something that will complain. This issue, yes, this method is never used. This is an issue, so save delete, and it will try, if you press on OK, it will try to delete the method for you because it's never used. So it is the help of Android Lint tool that was, so basically it's just scanning the file for you, then it is telling you you have declared this method, but you haven't used this method. So now if you want to suppress this warning, we can try to use suppress lint, then unuse, is it going to be unused resources or unused variable? Let's try this and see. Unused, I think this issue is different. Let's see, what issue is this talking about? Let's try and check what issue. Or class for this method. Unused. Exactly. Exactly. So this is just a warning. Now the issue that we have right now is called unused. This is one of the issues. This is one of the issues or lint issues. Now we were using a suppress lint, but then actually we were targeting a wrong issue. So as a result, it couldn't check our issue for us. So if you want to suppress this unused method, you need to use this. A lot of issues, you have a lot of issues. I don't even know all of them, but then Android Studio can let you know which issue that you might want to ignore. So you can use unused, as this is an issue, unused, just unused. That's all, just unused. Now with just unused, now you come here, you don't get another warning again that this method has not been used. So guys, now you know the importance of lint tool in Android Studio, of lint tools in Android Studio, of lint tool in Android Studio, of lint tools in Android Studio. Okay, this is actually a warning. I was just trying to check something. Guys, you can also, now as you know the basics of linting, you can also do your own checks from your end and see more, like you can learn, you can come across most of the issues that we have in Android Studio, and it will help you as you have checked this. Now we have been able to know how to use lint in XML. We have been able to know how to use lint in Java files, how to configure linting, and how to actually remove or add more lint issues in your Android Studio. Finally, we would like to talk about baselining. Now, as I said earlier on, this is not an application, a project I just created for this purpose. It is an existing project that we have, but I try to use it for demonstration purpose. Let's say this is an application or a project that a team is actually using, and we have used this project for a while now. We can still use Linting even though we didn't start, or we didn't actually start this project with Linting. So what, and it is going to be very difficult for us if as at that time, or as at the time this time, and we have maybe a lot of things, like we have done a lot of things in this project. For what we can do is we can try to make use of baseline, in a sense that the baseline will try to check for future errors while we are working on the project. Future errors. So let's say we have this project right now, and we are okay with the conditions of this project. We are okay with the condition of this project at the moment, and we might want to check for future errors that we might have while we are working on this project. First of all, we have to create a baseline for this project. So first of all, how do we create baseline? As we started with, I said anything that has to be done with regards to linting, it has to be done in the lint options. And this is writing in application, the application Gradle file. This is the lint option. I think we have this already in this project, and this is the lint. This is the baseline I'm talking about. Now we create this baseline, and this baseline is actually created. While we have created this baseline, what we have to do is we create the baseline, then we have to name the file. I mean the file name. So what when we try to build this project, a baseline which is actually in XML file, as we have pointed out. So the baseline will actually, the Android Studio will build the project, create an XML file, like that will give you the skeleton of the present condition of the project. And what is the help of this skeleton? It's this skeleton, I think, let me try to show you it. Since I have this already, I'm sure I've already created one. So let's where are you? Let's toggle to the project view. Now the project view, now the baseline, when it is created for you, it will be placed in it will be placed in the root folder. So check in your root folder. In my root folder, since I have it already, I check my root folder. Let me see. I have, it should be here. Yes, there is it. Link baseline. So this is the present condition of the project that I've created. Now Android has created this baseline for me, and these are the issues that are actually, these are the conditions of the project for source code right now that we have, and it's pointing to you. This is the skeleton of what we have at present. So right now, when we are building Android Studio right now, it will try to check against this skeleton, this baseline. So whenever the Android Studio comes across new issues which does not fall within these issues, then it means we are breaching. It means we are not we are introducing another issues in the project source file. Then Android will complain. Less if you try to commit some of these issues that we have already, Android Studio will just permit you to go on because we are okay. It is assumed to be like we are okay with the present condition of the project source file. So guys, I think this is basically what we have to look at for, and this is the scope of the tutorials that we are having right now. I think this is the scope of basically what we are having right now. So in conclusion, now in this tutorial we've learned how to use Lint in Android Studio. We saw that if you want to analyze our code, then we need not to do it manually. Android Studio provides a code checking tool called Lint that helps us to clean our code and use the necessary and right code for application development. Guys, in our next tutorials, we will talk about how to create a custom lint rules. It's going to be very interesting, guys. Don't miss out this new or the upcoming tutorials. If you don't want to miss these upcoming tutorials, all that you have to do is you have to subscribe to this channel, and the notification bell should be clicked so that whenever I release a new application new tutorials, you'll be notified accordingly. And I must say, I have a lot, and I have some of my publications. If you check on Medium, if you're on Medium platform, you can locate Nyame Bismarck 12.mb.medium.com to get all the publications on Android Studio or publication on Android development that I have. Thank you very much for being with me on these tutorials. And as I said, this is my first ever tutorials that I am running. So if anything couldn't go on well, you can leave your comments for me so that I will know what I did wrongly and what I did perfectly, so that I will always make sure I'm serving you guys. I am always in search to bring you more stuffs in Android development. So guys, kindly comment if you found something that you think I can do to make this better, as we are all learning together. Thank you very much and happy coding.